Hi everyone, welcome back. As some of you know, in 2025, I challenged myself to watch 100 movies that I hadn't seen before. In a video I uploaded hopefully a few days ago, I ranked the bottom 50, the 100 through 51. And so now I'm doing my part two, which will be my top 50 of the year. Pretty much from 58 and up, I did have like mostly positive feelings for these movies. I do want to give a little reminder that these are not movies that all came out in 2025. It's just movies that I missed out on mostly and have been getting caught up on this last year. You'll also realize I have very little to say about some movies and a lot to say about others. It just depends on how I felt about them and also how well I really remember them because, again, I spent the last year doing this. On average, like 10 movies a month. So there's a lot that has escaped my brain since then, but I will say that I do remember how I felt after watching most of these movies. Also, if you see this little, see her rubbing her face all over that shelf right there, that's my cat. I'm not gonna fight with her. She's just gonna stay over there if that's where she wants to be. Coming in at number 50, I have Five Nights at Freddy's 2. What can I say? I had fun with this movie, okay? I didn't like this one as much as the first one. The jump scares were really fun in this one, though. And the puppet, like when Charlotte was possessing the people and they were like running, bear crawl running, that was effective. So I did have a lot of fun watching this and it had some really funny moments. The opening scene though was really great and dark and I feel like we never really got there again, and that is one thing that is holding this movie back for me. Also, how are you going to tease us and tell us our original ghost faces are in a movie together and not even give us not even one little flashback with both of them? I know that we'll get there in the third one if we get a third one, because apparently they're still talking about that. But I feel like this was a lot of setup for the third film and not doing so great at standing on its own. In the first movie, my husband knows nothing about the video games, the lore of this, and he still found enjoyment in the movie. And even though I wasn't set on him watching with me, he did watch it with me after it came out on streaming. It was always on streaming. He watched it with me after, like a little bit after I went to go see it. And he still found something to like about the first movie. The whole time I was watching the second one, I just kind of was thinking about that. Like, he's not gonna get any of this. There's really cool stuff going on for the fans of video games. It's just, as a movie, apart from the, I guess you would call it source material, it doesn't do a whole lot. And so you do leave a lot of people in the dark. You do leave a lot of people wondering what is going on. What are we doing? And I think that makes it a lot weaker, but still a fun time for people who like Five Nights at Freddy's. Number 49.
You can't keep getting away with.
We have Avatar: Fire and Ash. I do feel mostly positive on this, but it's a beautiful movie that felt very similar to the last one. And I feel like I benefited from not really remembering anything from the first movie because my husband said they pulled a lot of pretty much rehashing scenes from the first two movies in this one. And I don't remember anything at all about the first one. I had a fun time, but I could also see how this is just getting kind of old. How many times are we going to keep doing this with this group of people? 48 is going to be Maxine. I watched this whole trilogy this year, and this is just the weakest one to me. I like the backdrop of the Satanic Panic and stuff. I feel like that is one part of like this 80s nostalgia we've been feeding that hasn't been there. So I did like that side of it, and I like the mystery of who's going after her, the PTSD from her surviving the events of X. I'm not gonna lie, I know that to most people it was super obvious who was going after her from the beginning, and I chose to turn my brain off and just take in what this movie was giving to me as it was giving it to me, and I liked it. not as much as the other ones. That's the only kind of downside here, is that X and Pearl were stronger than this movie. Number 47 is Misery. This is a crazy fan keeps an injured author in her home and tries to get him to write another book, reviving her favorite character. Please forgive me if I got any details of the plot wrong. It has been months since I've seen that. But Kathy Bates is really, really good in this, and I had a lot of fun watching it. That leg break scene is, oh my god. The tension that builds of him trying to get out and like her slowly catching on to that. It's really intense, and I really had a great time watching it. 46 is The Martian. Matt Damon gets stuck on Mars and grows potatoes. Probably one of my highest rated sci-fis on here, because as I noted in my back half, if you didn't watch that, sci-fis are probably one of the genres I'm most, just not my thing, but I did like this one. And I really like rescue mission movies, and it's more of that than anything else. Number 45 is going to be The Running Man. This is a Stephen King adaptation where this guy goes on a reality show where everyone is hunting him down as he tries to survive 30 days. The action scenes in this felt tense, and I loved seeing Michael Cera here too. I haven't seen him in anything in a while, I don't think. I don't know the source material of this. I haven't read it. I don't know how accurate this is. But from what I understand, it's closer to the book than the old version, which I also have not seen. So I might feel very differently and more positive on this movie than other people, depending on what your first exposure to this is. It's also a little scary how a book written 50, I think, years ago, set in modern day, this dystopia and how the technology is not that far off from what we have right now. It's a little creepy. Number 44 is going to be Shaun of the Dead. I know this is a lot of people's favorite part of Cornetto trilogy. I'm not big on zombies. I watched this because I was doing an Edgar Wright ranking video, which I have previously posted, so go watch that. It would be further down if it weren't for the pullback scene where they are whacking zombies to the beat of Can't Stop Me Now by Queen. This movie, as I was watching it, was fully set on being a mid-movie. And then this scene came on and I was dying laughing. I love when movies acknowledge the music being played in them, where it's not just a score, it is something within the movie. And so it killed me when he just yells, "Why is Queen still playing?" I love Simon Pegg and Nick Frost's chemistry, and this is a very good display of that. Number 43 is going to be Thunderbolts. This is the best thing Marvel has put out in a while for me since Guardians 3. Okay, I know people are divided on that movie too. However, saying that this is the best thing Marvel has put out in a while isn't saying much at the moment. I think that this is a pleasant surprise from Marvel, but it's not a great Marvel movie. I do like the aspect of like mental health being portrayed in this movie and kind of brought to the front. The impact of it and how the set of New Avengers are damaged or have gone through some stuff, but these are the heroes we have, the heroes we deserve. We have gotten such a mixed bag from Marvel. It's easy to kind of put this on a pedestal of a good Marvel movie since Endgame came out. Number 42 is going to be Superman. I can't say I have ever cared about a Superman movie until this one. I know that people have the issue with like he was weak and that's not, but I feel like it gets so freaking boring to have someone just so indestructible. And I get that that's his thing, but it gets so tiring. Also, one major note I had is how the heck, this is serious, how is Nicholas Hoult still hot being bald? I don't know. But it works. Also, I loved that Krypton is not a good boy. I can't wait to see where we go with this. I know a lot of people did not like this. I personally, as someone who has never cared about Superman, I am here for it. And I will say thank you, James Gunn. That's one reason I was so behind this, is because I am honestly here for whatever James Gunn is about to do. I'm happy that he's running things to some degree now. The Guardians are my favorite part of Marvel, probably. And so to bring him into DC gives me hope for DC. 41 is going to be Demon Slayer Infinity Castle arc. We went to go see this in theaters like super late. Like it was like 10:20 when the movie started. I was tired going into this, but this is anxiety inducing. It is sad and it is super fun. I cannot wait. So the next one, a little peeved that we have to wait another year and a half probably for it. Number 40, Mugen Train. Demon Slayer season 2, 3. I watched it as the movie version of Mugen Train. Yeah, I'm in my Demon Slayer era, okay? Same notes as Infinity Castle, pretty much, except I liked the setting of this one a bit more. This one had a bit more fun stuff going on in it, which I prefer. This is also my only anime I have watched, and I'm here more for like the fun fighting stuff and not the depressing ass backstory that I did like, but it was so long. So that's why this gets a little edge over the other one. And Zenitsu, please forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. His power went crazy in this one. I loved when he just like broke down the train with his lightning stuff. It was so cool. I also remember this one a bit better because I wasn't super tired. So there's that. Number 39 is going to be Frankenstein. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein 2025. I'm gonna be honest again, this is the only experience with Frankenstein I really have. So I'm not comparing it to the book. I'm not comparing it to the old version. I'm taking this story in for the first time, and I love how it was done. I think it is beautifully shot. The acting is great, and it made me feel sad. And I know that like so many things pull from this, like the gothic style, the castle, everything. And it was kind of like a backwards thing for me, is I'm like, oh, that's a thing. Like, this is where it came from. This movie made me want to watch more of Guillermo del Toro's work. And so I'm excited for that. I have a lot of that going on from this last year, is seeing stuff from directors for the first time and just wanting more of that. So more director rankings probably to come, because that's like one of my big interests right now. Number 38 is Titanic. I know, I don't like to watch movies that I know will make me sad. And this is a beautifully done movie that I don't think I will ever put myself through again. I started this movie at like 10:30 at night. I don't know why. I figured I would be fine. I finished this movie at like 2 in the morning, and I was crying for the last 20 minutes of this movie. I could not sleep for a couple more hours after this movie because I was just a mess. I loved it so much, but part of this is like, can I rewatch it? No, I cannot. So it goes back here, but this is still a great spot to be, okay? Another thing that will come up again is watching Leonardo DiCaprio's previous films and just being like, why didn't we get anything? Why didn't we get anything for this? This is one of them. Why? Shame. Number 37 is Heretic. This is 2 Mormon girls go to a man's house to spread the word, and he challenges their faith in many ways. The characters in this are really great, and I really like this thing that they did where one of them grew up in the church and the other one found it. It creates a very cool dynamic between the two, and a difference in 2 girls who have the same faith and their different perspectives on it. And I love the psychological battle here. I like that most of this movie is just 3 people talking, and I was just so invested the whole time. And it has a very bleak and questionable ending, but I overall really like this movie. Number 36 is Anora. A sex worker meets a rich Russian guy while she's at work, and they get in a whirlwind romance. It quickly makes you question who is using who in this situation, because of course she's trying to escape her life, but so is he, just in a completely different way. And this movie ends on a super uncomfortable gut punch. One thing I do have to say, the goose chase while they're looking for him felt like it went on forever, but the dynamics and the emotional weight of this movie hit so good. And I will say, like, on a second watch, I have not had it in me to watch this movie again, because it's a lot. The first 40 minutes is a lot of sex, drugs, lifestyle stuff that I don't feel comfortable watching very often. But I think that the choices made in direction, in editing, are very intentional. And so I do at some point want to rewatch this and just take that in. But the acting in this is incredible. The way that this movie is done, it feels like a lot of care went into a movie like this. It does a good job that the ending of it ending on a gut punch of it seems like she has had this life since as soon as she could, since she was pretty young, and how every interaction is just transactional to her. And I think that that part is really important for people to connect with. Here on out, we're on number 35, and these are all movies that I love. So we're doing pretty great. Number 35 is Death on the Nile. I did watch this once in theaters and I remembered absolutely nothing. I couldn't even remember who did it. I remember one clue standing out to me, but I still couldn't figure out who did it based off of that clue. So I love whodunits. I will watch as many of these Hercule Poirot movies as we can pump out. I do not care. Keep giving them to me. I will keep watching them. They're generally some of my favorite movies to watch, like these whodunits. I know that these are based off of Agatha Christie's books. I have not read any of them, and part of that is because I don't know what movies they're gonna make from her work, and I don't want them spoiled because I like to see them play out in movies. They're really fun for me, and I, as cliche as it is, I absolutely love the moment of having everybody in the room while the detective just lays everything out. I love the monologue. I am so here for all of this crap. Number 34 is going to be Haunting in Venice. Again, Hercule Poirot movie, same sentiments as the last, but really appreciated the change in tone of this one. And I was proud of myself because I actually picked up on who did it. I didn't know how, but there was a certain line that the person responsible said, and I knew it. On mystery movies like this, I try not to give too much away because it's more fun when you figure it out with the movie. I'm trying not to like spoil anything here in all of this going forward. There will be a couple times. Number 33 is Zootopia 2. I liked this just as much, if not more than the first, and that is very surprising because with sequels, especially Disney sequels, I never know what we're gonna get. Like, is this a cash grab? Is this a genuine attempt at continuing the story? I think at the beginning of this movie, there's a couple of notes that were hit that I was just worried it was just going to be the first movie again. And then I was pleasantly surprised by the turn it took. And when you look at that, we actually got a good twist villain. So thank you, Disney. The references in this movie were hilarious. I loved them so much. I think that's why this one might have an edge over the first one to me. I know that there's a lot of references in the first one also, but I picked up on them more in this one and I liked them more. Also, for as much as I did like this one, this is an animated movie that I enjoyed thoroughly, but it didn't hit me like some of the ones coming up. So number 32, K-pop Demon Hunters. This is a movie that me and my kids have listened to the songs from so much that Huntrix was my top artist on YouTube Music, and all of my top 5 songs were the first 5 songs of this movie. So whenever this first came out, my husband watched it with them. I didn't watch it. They watched this movie a lot without me. I was like, okay, you do your thing. I finally sat down to watch it, and it was actually so surprisingly good. I always love when kids and animated movies have a message that can resonate with everybody. The adults that get stuck watching it with their kids have something here too. The messaging behind it is so universal. The impact that this movie has made is actually impressive. Also, like how it's done and Your Idol are unironically bangers. Number 31, I promise I did not do this on purpose, but I think this is so cute. This is number 31, Trick or Treat. This was my first movie of October. I'm not usually a fan of anthologies, but I had fun with how this one pulled it all together. It's like just showing different perspectives of the same night, and you also see something happen to someone whose point of view we get later, and Sam is really cute. Also, I think the only thing I didn't like was first full piece, not the opening scene with the husband and wife putting away decorations early, but it was the kid with the poisoned candy. I did not like that one, and I really, really do not like throw up in movies, and this was so excessive with it. And then this is in the same one that guy was gonna kill his kid. I'm glad that's not what happened, but then we saw what actually happened, and I was still just like, what? And it kind of made me nervous going forward. But then after that, I was fine. Number 30 is going to be Orphan. A girl gets adopted by a family who just experienced a stillbirth or miscarriage. I can't remember which one it is, so I'm sorry. She is not what she seems. There is something wrong with Esther. I knew the twist going into this because it is from 2009. I am about 16 years late, so the internet, you know things. But I was still really unsettled by how this movie unfolded and how the reveal was done. I don't think I've come across this yet. Like, I don't think I've talked about this yet, but I really wanted to express that I love when movies give us and the people around the main characters a reason to think that they're an unreliable narrator, and it seems reasonable for their families not to believe them. She's a recovering alcoholic, so Esther is setting her up to look like she's relapsing is believable. I know there's other movies that do this really well, where a character has had a drug problem in the past, and so if they're trying to tell their loved ones what's going on, it just sounds like they're hallucinating or they're tripping or something. And I really appreciate when a movie does that, because we've seen movies, horrors especially, where there's no reason for the people around them to not believe them, but they don't, and I really appreciate that it took the time to do that. Number 29, this is X. This was so much fun. I love the setting. You can feel the just stickiness in this heat. I love how this was shot. It's beautiful, and I loved the scene cutting between them in the cabin. Not gonna talk about what they're doing in the cabin. And Maxine in the lake with the alligator, like getting slowly closer with the hard cuts. And every time we cut back to her with the alligator, it's closer to her. And she gets out fine, but it just builds. And I think that it was done so intensely, it reminded me of older horror movies. After watching this, I immediately wanted to watch Pearl. I think I watched it like the next night, and we will get to that later. 28 is going to be Wake Up Dead Man. This is the latest installment of the Knives Out films. I saw this in theaters with my parents, so a couple of parts were a little uncomfortable to get through. If you know what I mean, you know. But I really enjoyed the mystery of this one, how everything plays out. Its comedic moments are really greatly balanced with the drama of it, and I felt like this one had a lot of heart to it also. Number 27 is going to be Long Legs. FBI agent tries to track down a serial killer that she realizes she is more connected to than she thought. There's twists in this movie, and I felt more disturbed than scared watching this. But I love the way that this played out. I know some people don't like the ending, or that not enough was explained in this. I don't really care. I thought it was really cool and fun, and I don't really need to know how the spheres work. Why were they in there? I don't know, because he put them there. Number 26 is going to be Missing. This is the most twisty-turny movie I've seen in a while without loose ends. Usually when a movie has twists, I can think of a scene or two that may not have fully made sense in context with the twist. This one is really hard to talk about without giving anything away. It subverts expectations quickly and has characters that are believable and they're not dumb. This is a screen life movie, which you can see how this person is going about looking for this other person, getting all the footage and stuff and tracing things back. And I love how this thing unfolds and keeps you on your toes. I never knew what was going on, even though I thought I knew what was going on. And that is why, if you have not seen Missing, go watch it. Number 25 is going to be Into the Spider-Verse. I watched this like 6 years ago, but I was working on something else. I don't even remember what. I think it was like wedding invitations or something. And I remember nothing at all plot-wise. It took me a bit to get used to the animation style of this, but it's incredible. It looks like we're flipping through a comic book, and it's amazing. I don't remember very many specifics of this one, but I had a really fun time watching it, and I could not wait to watch the next one. We are getting to a group of movies, with the exception of one. It belongs in this placement, but most of this group of movies coming up is called Amazing, Love It. It did not have fun. I don't know that I could handle watching that again, or it will be a long time before I can. 3 of these I was actively nervous about watching before I watched them, and one just completely caught me off guard. I had no idea that's where this is going. Number 24 is going to be Talk to Me. This one I was nervous about. I actually wanted to watch this on the small screen of my laptop, and for some reason I left my room and ended up watching this on the big TV, and I knew what that scene was, but I still wasn't ready for it. Still wasn't ready. I hadn't seen it. I just heard about it. The ending was bleak. but I feel like it was deserved and justified. Number 23, Hereditary. I was so scared to watch this movie. Again, I knew what the scene was of this film. There's certain things I honestly just prefer to know going in if I can even handle a movie. I wasn't sure if I could handle this, and I did it. I wasn't ready for everything else that went down. This movie is beautifully shot and written. One thing this movie made me realize is that I hate squelching sounds in horror more than anything. That was the worst part for me. The ending with the mom, it was so rough to watch, and those are the parts that I have a harder time getting out of my head. The sounds and the rapid banging that we assume is her hands on the door or something. It's not what that was. And the squelching sound that takes us a minute to place, and then it shows us what's going on. And oh my god, I did watch this on my laptop by myself, and by the end of it, I had to minimize my screen player. Like, I already had put the window not in full screen, and then I further just like moved it probably to like 5 by 7 inches. I was so disturbed. I don't know if I could ever do it again. Number 22 is Midsommar. It feels really weird to put these two right next to each other. Whatever. I did like this one a little bit more than Hereditary, just because I think I could see myself watching this one again down the line. The beginning was the worst part for me, like seeing how her family goes out. After that, I was mostly fine. I do want to talk about the ending though, because funny story. I heard very, very vague mentions of this ending. The two phrases that I heard were Cody Leach saying he essentially gets date raped and set on fire. And I knew there was a bear before he said that. And then I told my friend that I thought I was ready for this movie. And I said, yeah, and the end has like something with a bear. And he said, yeah, a bear is intimately involved. So I straight up thought this guy was gonna get sexually assaulted by a bear, okay? So I was actually pleasantly surprised when he was just stuffed into one and set on fire, okay? That was fine. Much better than what I had pictured. I could tell where certain things were going with the whole cliff scene. It's hinted at when they're describing like the seasons of life in this cult. And as soon as it didn't work on that one guy and started walking towards him with something, I was like, oh, okay. Got it. I could have done without them cutting to it several times though, like the aftermath of that happening. This one is the one that does not quite belong. This is number 21, Wicked for Good. It's just where it fits. I had fun with it. It's definitely weaker and messier than part one. Part one was one of my favorite movies of last year. Part two is just not that. From what I've heard, a shoot for the Broadway show as well, that Act 2 is not nearly as strong as Act 1. The songs here just weren't as strong or memorable. I did enjoy the story though, and that we got to see more of Glinda's story and her complexity as a character instead of just the popular kind of mean girl. There's more to her than that, and I liked that we kind of brought more humanity to her. Most of this felt like consequences of choices made in Act 1. I did like to see it play out. However, parts of this felt a bit rushed, and then we still didn't get everything. Parts of it lulled, parts of it felt fast, and I still feel like there could have been more explained here. So I do think that the pacing was a little bit off. Number 20. This goes right back to this category. This is Shutter Island. This was the one that caught me off guard. This was the last movie I watched in 2025. I finished it at like 11:30 p.m. in my true procrastinator fashion. I realized the night before that I had written a movie down twice in my notebook, and I had only watched 99 up to that point. So slight spoilers here, but I'm not ruining the twist. So if you want to skip like a few seconds ahead, go ahead. I'm not giving too much away. I knew that to some extent that some of this wasn't real because of the internet like forever ago. But that's the only thing I remember hearing about the twist in this movie. From the first time they mentioned Patient 67, I figured it was him. And then when it got brought up again, I was like, okay, yeah, that's it. They wouldn't be bringing it up again if it wasn't important. But I wasn't ready for anything else that was this guy's reality. It is super dark and depressing. I was not ready for that. But I love this movie so much. It was so well done. I just did not have a great time. I was having fun until like the end. Number 19 is Together. I was a bit nervous to watch this. I appreciate it not showing us too much of the violence. Hi. It's a baby. Wait, take it back. I appreciate it not showing us too much though. It left the violence bits out to the imagination more. I saw this in theater, and this was my first horror movie that I've watched in theaters in years, which is mostly why I was so nervous. The uncomfortably funny moments in this hit so good and kind of brought a little bit of relief to my anxiety. And I am always down for the it's a cult moment. I don't care how many times we do it. I'm here for it. My tune might change if we keep doing these. I might get tired of it, but for right now, love What Is a Cult. My only complaints is there was a line from Allison, I think her name was Millie, that I felt was just really, really harsh. When up to that point, I felt like it was pretty easy to see where she was coming from while simultaneously feeling bad for the guy. And then she said that, and I was just like, why'd you have to go there? Also, the ending left me a little bit disappointed, but I was uncomfortably laughing when her parents pulled up. If you know, you know. Fully expecting some kind of Eliza Sue moment. And then I was just like, oh, okay. Those are my only less than great thoughts on it, though. I love this movie. Number 18 is Final Destination 5. We are so back. Was this amazing, or was I just grateful not to be watching Final Destination 4 anymore? Who's to say? But I had a fun time. I watched those back to back, like in the same night in preparation for Bloodlines. I think Bloodlines came out like 3 days after this. I was preparing to do a ranking of all of them, and it's such a big step up. There's a twist in a Final Destination movie. They did really well hiding it without forcing it, and the gymnastics kill is one of my favorites of this franchise. It's so freaking gnarly, and it takes us back to the Rube Goldberg machine like deaths that kept me wondering what it was actually going to be to eventually cause her death. Number 17 is going to be Weapons. This one is hard. I liked it more than I expected to, given the subject matter of it, because I am very sensitive to kids stuff and horror. It took me a lot of listening to other people talk about this movie for me to accept that I can handle it. After realizing, okay, the kids don't die. It's sad, but they don't die. I was like, okay, I can do it. So in understanding what it was about, I had heard so much hype about this. And so I did a little bit less than I had hoped to from just how positive the discourse around this was. The scares were really good though. The scene with the principal and his husband was like really brutal. And the acting and character writing in this whole thing is great. I love the storytelling in this, how it keeps switching. We get to see other people's sides of this whole thing. Kept everything very engaging and interesting. Number 16 is going to be Across the Spider-Verse. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't remember a ton about the plot, except I love the villain here, Miles and Gwen, that whole relationship thing, finding out he wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man. And at the end, when he gets to the alternate where he is the Prowler, I remember I was so into this movie that I checked the time when it had like 30 minutes left, and I was just casually like, I wonder how they're going to accomplish all this in 30 minutes. They did not accomplish it in 30 minutes. It just ends, and I cannot wait for the next one. We still have a year and a half. It's going to be a rough year and a half is all I can say, but as long as we keep the quality of these first two and keep this thing going how it's meant to be, I'm down. Take as long as you need. Entering the movies that surprise me. I think movies that I go into not expecting much from, I end up walking away from much happier when I like them. I knew that the last couple of movies were like generally praised movies, but they didn't hit quite as hard as these coming up that I didn't expect much from. So number 15 is going to be The Housemaid. Amanda Seyfried, I am so sorry if I say her name wrong. I don't know how to say her last name. She hires Sydney Sweeney as a live-in nanny, and things get weird. This looked fine enough and fun enough, and it took me on a whole ride that I was not ready for. After that first interview between the two women, I was wondering which one was putting on a show for the other one. And then by that last, 30 to 40 minutes, just, oh my God. I was already loving whichever way this was going, and then we get what we got. And I had so much fun watching this. I love the twist, the ending, the acting. Everyone is on their shit in this movie, and I loved it. It looks like it might just be some fun to have in a theater, and I love the way it goes. I know this is based off source material I haven't read. Me and my mom went to go see this, and I can't wait for it to come out at home so I can watch it again. Number 14 is going to be Hamilton. This is the highest I could allow myself to put this, with it not being technically a movie. It's a pro shot. I saw it in theaters though. when it returned, I saw it with my mom and I fell in love with this thing. With this, it's something I put off for a long time. I remember when it first came out, like on Disney, my mom was like, hey, have you watched it? Couldn't bring myself to do it. I kept hearing how great it was and all this, and I don't know, I didn't find interest in it. It was really overhyped at the time, and that also just makes me not super anxious to see things. I haven't seen many plays and musicals on stage, even in this form, and anytime that I do, it really does give me more appreciation for this art. And this one specifically goes so fast at times, and I love the different styles thrown in here and the beats that get reused and the lines that get recontextualized. It's so good and it's genius, and I love everything about it. So much so that two of my favorite musical artists, 21 Pilots and Taylor Swift, put out albums like within a month of me seeing Hamilton, and I've listened to those new albums maybe a handful of times because since I've seen it, whenever I'm in the mood to listen to music, this is what I go straight for. Number 13 is going to be Companion. This movie is so much fun. I could tell from the poster what she was, where this was going. It didn't really ruin anything though. I still didn't know what was going on with this group of people, and I love how they have her handle herself. The funny moments in this are really great. The gore in this isn't too much, and the character motives are fun. Number 12 is going to be Saw X. I mostly have got to credit Dead Meat doing their Hot Sauce Summer podcast, and this is the only Saw titled movie I haven't seen. I watched the first 7 a long time ago, like almost 10 years ago at this point, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep going, and I'm sorry, but this isn't just a great Saw movie, which is all I was hoping for at this point, because if you've seen the first 5 even, you know we get some pretty mixed qualities of these movies, and I just want another good Saw movie, and this is a great movie in general. It's really, really gross at certain parts. It somehow actually makes us feel bad for John, which is really, really hard to do, but they did it right by knowing that they had to give us someone as awful as Cecilia to make this work, and it works. I was really hesitant to watch this one because I am very sensitive when it comes to anything with eyes in horror movies, and that cover tells me we're doing something with eyes. But some of this gore was insane, and we got the squelching sound with the girl and her leg. And with that being like the first main trap, I didn't know if I was gonna make it, but I think that was the worst one. But I had a really, really great time watching this, and I very pleasantly surprised. Thank you for making this movie. Number 11 is Bullet Train. Fun fact, this is my best friend's favorite movie, and my husband tried to casually put it on 3 times for me to see if I'd watch it with him. And I fell asleep like within 10 minutes the first time. I wasn't paying attention and then fell asleep another night, and I don't know, I couldn't get into it. And one day I finally just sat down and watched it, and I'm so sorry that I took so long. This was a great time. I love the ridiculousness of giving everything and everyone a backstory, even the water bottle, and the over-the-top action here, and I laughed so much at this movie. Number 10 is going to be Unbreakable. I watched this one pretty early on this year, mostly because I remembered that Glass came out, which was a disappointment if you watched my previous video. I decided to watch this whole trilogy. I watched Split when it first came out, so I didn't get the full gravity of Bruce Willis being there at the end. I read, heard, whatever, that it meant that they were in the universe of Unbreakable where like these super beings exist. And then I just kept forgetting to go back and watch it. And knowing that I wanted to watch the follow-up of Split, I was like, okay, I need to go watch Unbreakable and then rewatch Split and then get there. And the first, like, I don't know, 3 quarters, I was thinking like, yeah, this is fun, this is cool, as he's realizing he has super strength and can't get hurt and stuff, and using his intuition to stop crimes and stuff. I liked all of that, and it was fine. It was interesting enough. And I have to say, I think this movie is the main, if not only movie that I've seen that the twist made this movie for me. I've tried keeping most of these vague from spoilers, but I can't with this one. And I'm about to ruin this, so skip ahead if you haven't seen this movie, please. Please. Skip ahead like 20 seconds. Unless you don't care, here it goes. The twist happened with Glass. It was good at best for me until that handshake, because whenever he touches people, he can see their intentions, he can see some of their past, and we see how Glass, this guy he has befriended and convinced him of his superpowers, made all of these tragedies, these accidents happen to look for a sole survivor that he finally saw when Bruce Willis's character survives a train crash. He caused so many deaths just to find the one person who could survive things. And it paints this guy that we felt bad for because he is so fragile as a human just to be so messed up. Like, this guy is fucked, and I loved it. We can all come back now. These top 9 movies that I just absolutely loved, and I am so glad that I either finally got around to them or was able to get out and see them. Number 9 is Get Out. This one I missed out on when I couldn't really handle anything horror for a time, and I just avoided anything I thought would freak me out. Pregnancy really did a number on me with my first kid, and I pretty much just was able to start watching scary stuff again like the last couple of years. My husband had seen this when it came out and watched it with me this time and had fun watching me freak out. I did know, because this movie is almost 10 years old, that they were like kidnapping the black people, but I didn't know at all why or what they were doing. And this was so messed up and crazy, and the reveal was perfectly done. I love this just old home video showing us what is about to happen. Number 8 is going to be Abigail. I love these one location movies where things just go so wrong. A guy gets a group of criminals with different skill sets together to kidnap a little girl who is a ballerina. She is a daughter of a rich guy to hold until they get ransom money. Plot twist, she's a vampire. Not really a plot twist because they showed it in the marketing. She had this set up because she likes to play with her food. This is so much fun. So many funny moments that don't ruin the tone of the movie. There's so much blood. Catherine Newton freaked me out in that scene right after she's turned. She looks terrifying. This is also the movie that I learned the hard way not to eat while watching horror movies. I was eating a burger, and then an arm got burnt up to a bloody nub. I no longer wanted to eat my burger. There was one scene that I felt went on just a little bit too long, and that was when Frank was turning. That was a lot, and I know that it was probably played more to be a little funny. I just felt grossed out. Not big on vomit, and it went on forever. Number 7 is going to be One Battle After Another. Going to the theater to see this. This is what movies are for. Okay, Leonardo DiCaprio is in like a protection program with his daughter, and this guy starts going after her for a very dumb and very specific reason. I adored this movie, the way it's shot, the dumbness of some of it, the chaos. I felt viscerally anxious so many times in that movie, and it does not let up once things get going. The chase scene at the end had me so nervous. I honestly couldn't tell where anyone was in relation to anyone else, and I was just hoping she wouldn't accidentally hit her dad with the car. And then he finds her, and she's skeptical, and it's heartbreaking. I think the end is so perfect with the bad guy and how he gets in his stupid little club, and then something happens. And I watched this by myself. I was the only person in there, like on a Monday afternoon in the rundown theater in my town. And I was cheering for this movie. Number 6 is Pearl. I watched this one maybe 1 or 2 nights after watching X. And this is a prequel where we see the old lady who ends up being the killer in X as a younger girl. And she has dreams of being a star. And this is a very rare case for me where the prequel somehow makes the original better. I love that we get to understand Pearl, and not in a way that makes us feel too bad for her. She is not an empathetic character. She is so unwell, and I love it. The only thing that I was like, oh man, about this is that she is so hopeful to get off of this farm, and seems like she really thinks that she will, and it's where we meet her in X. Mia Goth's acting is incredible here, and as we see her mask slipping and that monologue at the end, I really figured her sister-in-law like left at some point because it was just so uncomfortable, and we didn't break from Pearl. Totally forgot that someone else was supposed to be here on the other end of this. The ending scene with the pig and her setting up her parents at the dinner table for her husband to come home to. I finished this movie at like 1 a.m, and the whole time she was doing this, I'm like, can you please stop? Pearl, stop. And then after I finished it, I was like, so I'm just meant to go to sleep now after viewing this? So disturbed, but so incredible. Number 5 is going to be Ready or Not. At midnight after her wedding, a bride must play a game with her new in-laws. The game being determined by a random card pull Most of the games are normal. However, if the hide and seek card is drawn, the whole family has to track her down and perform a ritual for Dawn or they die. This movie is really, really fun and funny and intense, and it's just so great. I had a blast watching it. I laughed so hard every time her husband's little sister accidentally killed someone because she couldn't work the old weapons. The comedic parts are just so perfectly balanced with finding out just how messed up this whole family is, even the kids. I also love when main characters in these things aren't dumb. At first she thinks it's just a game until she sees a maid accidentally get killed, and then her survival instincts kick in, and this whole thing ends with the ritual not being completed and bodies just explode. It's so gross, so funny. This movie is so much fun. Number 4 is The Substance. I was so nervous for this one, and rightfully so. Honestly, Demi Moore plays a lady who's been on TV doing like Pilates workout stuff and has aged out of her career and gets offered a substance by a doctor to give herself a better version, younger, hotter version of herself. The catch? She has to swap back to her regular self every week, and there will be consequences, and are consequences had. Starts off with just a funky looking finger, but no, we get her like full Gollum mode after Sue takes over for too long, and this movie is so disturbing. It is sad and so amazing. The way this was executed and the care that they took with the subject matter they were dealing with aging, and the lengths that people will go to fight their natural course and to remind us to accept it, and that there will always be a hotter, younger thing out there, but we are still worthy as ourselves as we age. And I really like that message. And this is one of those times where I do not care that that message is blatantly in our face the whole time. I think it's an important one to be flat out with. This movie is probably one of my all-time favorites. It's just, I can't have it further up because it is a hard watch. This is not one that you can just keep rewatching. There's so many needle moments and just so much body horror, but I really do love it, and I think that it really set a pivot in horror being recognized. We're seeing it this year with Sinners, Weapons, Frankenstein being recognized for award seasons where we usually wouldn't get that. And I think The Substance being such a broad message that touches with everybody really just set the tone of appreciation for horror movies. Number 3, is this Unhinged? I think it's Unhinged that I have this as my number 3, but I don't even care. Final Destination Bloodlines. Girl has a premonition of lots of people dying, stops it from happening, and as a result, death is catching up with the families of everyone who should have died in this tragedy, because technically there were so many babies and families were created that should have never existed. This was surprising in a totally different way. I love this franchise and will absolutely show up every time we get more of these. But because it's a 6th installment where the premise on all of these is the same. Premonition. A group of people not meant to die who are meant to, as death comes back to pick them off in creative and gruesome ways. We've seen this before, but not like this. I wasn't expecting it to be so good. I think it perfectly hit the balance of gore, horror, and comedy, and somehow had a little bit of heart with it because of the family aspect. These people were actually feeling these losses, and that's something that has always kind of bugged me about these movies, is when these characters are not connected in any emotional, tangible way, and so these deaths are just played off and moved on from. And I like that we felt the weight of these deaths in this movie. Eric is probably my favorite character of the whole franchise. His death is one of my favorites also. That was brutal. It was funny. It was so uncalled for, but oh my god, I loved it. This ended up being my favorite of this whole franchise. Now, I'm going to admit something real quick. I know that my number 2 is the best movie I've watched this year, and quite possibly one of the best movies I have ever seen. But we're not going off the best, we're going off of my list, my favorite, okay? Number 2 is Sinners. This movie is set in 1932 Mississippi and tells the story of 2 identical twins, Smoke and Stack, who have just returned to their hometown and want to open a juke joint for the local black community. They build a team of people from their past to help bring their joint to life, one of them being their cousin Sammy, who plays guitar, whose father sees blues music as sinful. Their plans are disrupted by an Irish vampire and his followers who are wanting to exploit Sammy's music for their own gain, because music that rich can bring together spirits of the past and future. They fight the vampires, and it ends on such a great note. This movie is so emotional, heartbreaking at times, beautifully shot and written. There are scenes in this movie that if any movie going forward tries to do anything like it, it'll just feel like they're doing the Sinners thing. The performances in here are all incredible. I've never seen anything like this movie before. It is rich in themes, it has layers, it has depth. It's so moving in every way. And the first hour of this movie is just introducing us to these twins, their past loves with a little bit of background on them, and the people they are choosing to bring along for their opening night. And it doesn't drag at all. It doesn't feel boring. It didn't make me just wonder when these vampires would show up, because I knew that that was a piece in this movie. It's all interesting. It's all engaging. It tells us enough about all of these characters, and somehow we'd be interested in spin-offs to learn more about this world that they created. The Native American vampire hunters for sure comes to mind. Like, I want to see more. I want to see what got you here, what your previous endeavors looked like. It fully deserves every award that it's received. Now, before I get into my number one, I really want to reiterate this. I do not think this is a better movie than Sinners. However, this is my favorite movie that I watched last year, and I fought myself on that. But in the spirit of the entire point of me spending the year watching movies that I missed out on, and I didn't expect for any of these to break my top 5 of all time, but here we are. My number one movie that I watched for the first time in 2025 is Hot Fuzz. Nicholas Angel is a city cop that gets moved to be sergeant of a small rural area, and murders start happening. It ends up being a group of killers for super petty reasons, and there's such good action scenes in this. On paper, this movie should not work for me. Comedies are probably my least watched genre outside of the few that I grew up watching and go back to watching now when I'm in the mood to watch one. Buddy cop movies are even more not my thing. And this was the first new to me Edgar Wright movie that I watched in preparation for my ranking of his films. I went to the library on a random day and just picked this thing up thinking I was getting to check one off my list, and I had the best time watching this movie. It has everything. It has great humor, action, a genuine friendship being developed in front of our eyes. It has dead bodies. It has a cultish group of people committing murder. I did not expect to love this movie, but I laughed, I gasped, I bought everything about this movie. When it tries to pull off Danny being in on it, it makes sense because this whole town is in on it. And his dad is like leading it. And it was so surprisingly good. I also went into watching all of Edgar Wright's movies that I hadn't seen before, like pretty much thinking that I knew what my top 3 would be. Like, okay, he made some of my favorite movies of all time, so I pretty much know where we're going with this ranking, but I'll watch the other ones to find out where they go, and I was not ready for this to be one of my favorite movies. I love the line of, "Is there something I can do for you?" No, this is something I have to do for myself. Every joke in the beginning of this movie works on its own initially. Like, it made me laugh already, and then everything comes back later. Every joke that works without it being paid off again later, it's paid off in a way that doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like we're just hitting the same note. The hag on the crossword, and then the farmers and their mums, the considerable amount of paperwork, Danny quoting Nicholas several times, and whenever he says it, everyone's like, oh shit. Unironically, one of the best movies I have seen ever in my life. I actually watched this twice in a day the first time I watched it, and that's so uncommon for me. I knew there would be more things that I'd pick up on a second rewatch of just jokes that I may not have noticed get paid off later. I was so down just to immediately go back into that and see everything that I had missed. This is a movie where anybody could tell me that this is their favorite movie, and I'd just be like, oh, hell yeah. Because this feels like there is something in this for everybody. I recommend this movie to anyone who hasn't seen it. It probably won't be their favorite movie, but it is one of mine. You don't have to agree with me. You probably won't. Sinners is a better movie, and it's the best movie 2025. But Hot Fuzz is the best movie that I watched in 2025, and I will stand by it. So thank you for watching. Don't be mad at me. And I will see you guys in the next one, hopefully real soon. Bye!